Hello, we are back again, and I'm so excited for my next interview, which is with John Smith. John, welcome to Acudetox Masterclass.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Now, John and I go back. Wow, John, when did we meet? Was it about 15 years ago, 20 years
15
ago?
years, at least 15 years, yeah.
15 years ago, yeah. So we've known each other for quite a long time, and I have attended many talks that John has given, and I've listened to a lot of talks that he's given, and he's an excellent teacher. Besides the fact that he has incredible knowledge, is a brilliant teacher, I would rate him as one of South Africa's top addiction counselors and recovery coaches. So I was a bit in shock when you suddenly went off to Thailand with your wife, and now you're working at Siam Rehab. Tell us all about that. How did you get into what you're doing, and how did you end up in Thailand at Siam Rehab Centre?
Yes, well, thank you for the opportunity, Warren. It's really a huge privilege to be part of this kind of endeavor. A long story short, I grew up having had my fair share of dysfunction, emotional pain as a child, behavioral problems that developed into adulthood, and all sorts of additional dysfunction and addictive behaviors, obsessive compulsive behaviors, and just not being happy in myself, and yet at some level knowing there must be something more. And however, I was always fortunate with regards to my career. I always had a career that I enjoyed. And I think that was sort of my saving grace that kept me going in spite of all the other issues that I was going through. And I am a former high school teacher. I did that for many years. And then I changed my career completely 21 years ago and went to work for an NGO, traveled Africa, writing reports for donors, which was also an amazing experience. But I always had the desire to teach inside of me and train. That's sort of what I am and who I am. And about 13 years ago, 12, 13 years ago, I started to do some training in coaching, and I really became interested in mental health, particularly, why people do what they do. And from there, I sort of also came in contact with the addiction field. And I actually did some work at a total of 11 prisons countrywide in South Africa, where I presented various courses, both in mental health and also in addiction, and just some life skills as well. And in the whole process, sort of connected more and more with addicts as such, in active addiction as well as in recovery. And fast forward, I just really became interested in that, and I started, of course, substance use disorder counseling. And that took up a total of about 10 years. And my wife and I never really considered moving abroad to go and work, although we were always open for the idea. And the one day I just saw that they had a position at Siam Rehab in northern Thailand.
Oh, Siam, sorry. Okay.
Siam doesn't really matter. And I thought, well, give it a bash and just see what happens. And I sent in my CV, and that was in April, and they said a position may become available in July for senior counselor. And on the 9th of July, I received an email saying that the position is available at the end of July. Can we come? So we literally packed up our lives in 3 months. I sold my car the day before we left, and that was nearly 2.5 years ago, and it was the best decision I ever made. Siam Rehab is a large international treatment center for clients. Most of our clients are from overseas. And because of COVID, went through quite a tough time, shut down for a while. We're just in the process of restarting again. Now that Thailand has opened up for tourists as well, so we're building up and increasing the numbers and study increasing staff, counselors and psychologists and all that kind of thing. So that's in essence what I do, and I also do some online work as well, which I developed during the COVID time to help sustain. So what I'm going to say now, I mean from the bottom of my heart, I live my dream. I'm just so grateful in an amazing country, having my wife with me, an amazing career. So very, very grateful.
Well, I think, it's a great loss to South Africa to lose somebody with your skills, that was available on our doorstep. But it's a great comfort to know that people can still get coaching and counseling from you online. How are you finding doing that online?
Initially, it was a bit of a challenge, but thanks to COVID, in that sense, we had to learn to adapt. And
Yeah.
to be honest, I'm actually enjoying the online. I do both group sessions and individual sessions. And I read up on some research that had been done during the COVID period. And although face-to-face obviously has its benefits, the contact, but research seems to indicate that online counseling and coaching are as effective as face-to-face with
Mm.
regards to the with regards to treatment outcomes. So obviously it is
Yes.
second best because people like the contact, but it's really working well, and I'm actually quite enjoying it. And especially with with the various platforms with video, so you can still see the body language, you can still communicate. So for me, it's working pretty well to do online work.
Yeah, so I suppose the most important thing is treatment outcomes. I mean, it's a great
Absolutely.
new way to be able to connect to people, and it's more convenient.
Yeah,
And I suppose the costs are lower because there's no office space, there's no driving to and from work or driving to your client. But
absolutely.
at the end of the day, if the treatment outcomes are not supporting this way of coaching and counseling, it shouldn't be done. Actually,
100%. And
yeah,
in my personal experience as well, the treatment outcomes really has not suffered because of using technology.
yeah. Um, John, in terms of the difference, you spoke about doing NLP. You studied NLP. How does one use NLP in a counseling session or in a coaching session?
There's something, and I'm sure people will be aware of it, there's something called evidence-based practice
Hmm.
in psychology. And that just means over a period of 20, 30 years, a lot of research has been done to various modalities that contribute towards positive treatment outcomes. And evidence-based practice counseling is becoming far more inclusive of various modalities, various approaches that are combined. So, with all due respect, the old-fashioned way of thinking about counseling, I lie on the couch talking to the shrink, are long gone. It's a
Yeah.
partnership. It's an interactive, co-creative process. And
Mm.
with regards to NLP, neuro-linguistics programming, it just simply means that my brain works a certain way. There are certain patterns according to which I operate. And in NLP, we learn certain tools and certain skills to help change some belief systems, start to change some patterns and behaviors. And then from a therapeutic point of view, there's something called cognitive behavior therapy. So that links very well together, because cognitive behavior therapy tells me that the way that I respond to a situation by the way that I think or the story I'm telling myself about the situation creates my emotions, it ultimately creates my reaction and my behavior that creates my results. So to merge NLP principles with CBT is very, very powerful. There's DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, which talks more about focusing on learning mindfulness skills, interpersonal relationships, emotional regulation. So
Mm.
all those various modalities, it's not that you study each one individually and apply them individually. Obviously, you do study them individually, but you
Mm.
merge various modalities into very, very powerful approaches. And apart from that, evidence-based practice is person-centered, meaning the days of the counselor drawing up a treatment plan and the client follows are long gone. As I said, it's a
Mm.
partnership. So the client makes known what they desire from the whole process, what their goals are, and you plan the whole process with the client around the client's needs. It is solution focused. We don't talk about what's wrong with the client. The client knows what's
Mm.
wrong. We focus on these things, we focus on their abilities, we work on that, and then it is recovery oriented. How does what I do contribute towards a person's recovery? And it can even be physical recovery when it comes to treatment for physical ailments, mental health recovery, substance abuse recovery. It's a forward looking process. And as I said, research has come up with all the various modalities that have really worked. And of course, with regards to the counselor, research also indicates that the most effective counselor is the one who is empathetic. You can get into the client's world and relate to them, and basically, to some degree, feel what they're feeling. Non-confrontational, that's the biggest thing in my experience, that many counselors, therapists that are maybe a bit more old school may deal with, particularly use disorder. We don't confront the challenge. And the difference is we don't tell the person what they're doing is wrong. We address the situation, what could be problematic about the situation, and give the person some food for thought and leave them with a feeling of hope. And that's sort of basically the approach. So you can use that in individual counseling, you can use that in group therapy, you can use it in mental health and substance use disorder. Obviously, the reason being you develop it around the needs of the client. So it's a very diverse, powerful tools that are incorporated into this whole process called therapy.
You know, John, it's so important, and I think this is part of the reason why I've created Acudetox Clinics Masterclass, is because I believe in order for people to really find their wholeness, or to function properly, to get back to functionality, or to thrive, or to find healing, we have to learn as Acudetox practitioners when to apply what. And either we have the skills or we don't. And if it's not within our scope of practice, we need to know what's out there, and we need to learn to refer. And ultimately learning what to combine for what clients as a Acudetox practitioner, and what to recommend for them, ultimately will also make us successful as practitioners.
100%.
I want to put you on the spot with just two questions. My first question is, without, obviously, client confidentiality is the most important thing in all of this, but perhaps talk from experience. What do you find is the single biggest challenge when it comes to helping someone change from, full-blown addiction to heavy drugs like crack or cocaine or alcohol or crystal meth? What is the biggest hurdle, and what do you find is the contributes the most to someone's success in your experience?
A very good question. I would say the biggest hurdle is trying to get the person to change.
Yes.
I always use the example, how many people have ever tried to get a 2-year-old toddler to do something they don't want to do? And they become very vocal, they may throw temper tantrums, and people are inclined to say that 2-year-old is naughty, which of course a 2-year-old doesn't have the ability to be naughty, because naughtiness requires thought processes to make certain decisions. Humans have got an inner sense for self-determination. And if a 2-year-old has that imagined adult's awareness. So when it comes to any kind of dysfunction, and there are various stages of changes, I won't bore people with the details, but it's important when a client asks for help, and that is primary. If a client doesn't ask for help, there's very little we can do. We can maybe just present some facts, provide some information, whatever the case may be. But when a client requests help, it's important for me to work with the client and see which stage of change are they at. Are they I just want to touch on them briefly, are they in the pre-contemplation stage? Hell no, I don't have a problem. Don't try and convince me. Are they in the contemplation stage where they realize they may have a problem, but they're not ready to change yet? They're ambivalent. Or are they in the preparation stage where they are at least thinking, I have a problem, I need to do something about it, and they're starting to do the research. And of course, there's something called the action stage where they actually go into treatment, and then the maintenance stage, which is once they finish treatment. So it's very important to figure out, and we do this through something called motivational intervening or brief therapeutic interventions, to gauge where the client is at, and then use the language, get to their level where they are at. And then and just maybe point out to them, as I said, some of the possible risks of their behavior. Maybe try and elicit what their values are, what their life goals are, how the behavior that they're currently engaging in contribute towards all that. So it's quite a long process, but it's less complicated than I'm making it sound. But the bottom line is, the moment I try and change somebody, I've lost them.
Yeah.
And even if somebody wants to change, I've got to then pace them. I've got to take them at a pace that they are ready. So it is just getting the person to realize for themselves that they need help, why they need help, whether they are able to do what is required of them, how committed they are, and work through their process. And that process can sometimes take weeks, even months for some people. So it's just a lot of patience.
Well, I think, yes, that definitely does. I think, as practitioners, it's very important for us to know that, as Acudetox practitioners, like you said, we also don't try to fix anybody. And we don't withhold our treatment based on where the client's at, whether they're still in the pre-contemplative phase or whether they're actually starting to take action and take responsibility. We don't require them to stop using drugs before we stick needles in them either. It's part of the process, and we don't tell them to stop doing what they're doing either. Our job is to stick needles in people. John, I think, you've told us so much in such a short amount of time, and I would like to go on for the next 3 hours interviewing you. But I also want people to realize that we have masterclasses on, and people can subscribe to the masterclass. The link will be in the comments section just below this video after watching this. And I will schedule with John when his masterclass is, and I will broadcast that shortly to everyone so that everyone knows. And I'll warn everybody in advance when you're teaching your masterclass as well. But thank you so much for joining me in this interview today. It was great. I'm sure everybody is excited to hear your masterclass. And I'm certainly looking forward to it. But also just to encourage people, I do post a link to the studio in the comments section as we're live. So if you would like to, I always do that. So if you would like to join us in the studio live and you've got any questions that you'd like to ask John or myself, feel free to do so. I'll also have a time during the masterclass when people are able to do that. And of course, people can ask questions anytime they like during the comments, during the session. It comes through to the studio. We can read it and we can put your comment up on the screen, and we'll do our best to answer your question. Thank you so much, John, for your time. I know you're a busy man. In a certain sense, I envy you being in Thailand, but I don't envy the humidity. I honestly don't envy the humidity there.
Well, thanks, Warren. It was really awesome to be, as I said, to be part of this endeavor and to share some thoughts, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, John. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, everyone. That is John Smith, and he is an incredible teacher. He will educate you like you cannot believe. I'm really looking forward to his masterclass. Don't forget to subscribe. You get the first 30 days free. And I commit to 2 masterclasses per month with new speakers talking on new subjects, with everything to do with personal growth and allopathic medicine, alternative medicine, every kind of healing that there is out there, so that we are empowered, so that we have the knowledge, so that we can live better quality of life, and so that our practitioners are also educated. Knowledge is power. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go with love and compassion and empathy. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye now.